I'm Rachel Fine. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I'm the face behind the account To The Point Nutrition. I specialize in dance nutrition. I'm a dancer, and about 10 years ago, I started making the connection that the food I was putting into my body has to be playing some type of role in my performance. You know, I very much, and as dancers, I think we all strive to constantly work on our technique, right? We're constantly trying to perfect really what's an imperfect art. So in that mindset, I really wanted to figure out, we're eating multiple times a day. Food is going into our body multiple times a day. It has to be playing a major role in how our body is going to perform, whether it's in the class, in your rehearsals, in your performances, just on a day-to-day basis. So I started getting really interested in health and wellness and nutrition, so much that I was like, you know what? I was looking online, I was looking to Google for answers. And at that time, this was already 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot out there that was specific to dancers. There's a lot about sports nutrition. There's a lot about, the general population nutrition. But there wasn't much for dancers. And at the time I was like, you know what, I had so many questions and I wanted to, I'm a bit of a type A perfectionist type of person. And I was like, I got to find the answers here. So that's when I decided to go for my actual degree and licensure as a dietitian. And that's important because I want you to realize that a registered dietitian is different from a standard nutritionist and even from a health coach. So as a dietitian, we have to go through several years of schooling to get our license that actually enables us to work one-on-one with certain populations. Now, there still isn't much in the world of dance nutrition. I like to think that I, along with some other great dance medicine professionals, are actively changing that and have been for at least the past 5 years. So we've got a lot more out there now when it comes to what dancers specifically need for their performance, because dance is so specific. Now, I should back up and say that in my schooling to being a dietitian, I also received my certification as a sports nutritionist. Now, there's no certification specialist for dance nutrition. I kind of had to make that on my own. And that's why I wanted to really buckle down in the sports nutrition world, because there's definitely some parallels between the athleticism of sports, right? But it's still very different. As dancers, I like to say that we are artistic athletes. We're balancing the physical demands of the athletic world, even more demanding than what some things call for. And we're artists. So obviously we're making everything look effortless. And that's really tough. That's really specific, especially in the dance world, right? It's hard to ignore the fact that much of what we do and much of where the dance world has originated hundreds of years ago is very based on body aesthetics. And now that could be a whole webinar in of itself. I'm not going to talk too much about body image in this webinar, but just a little spoiler, I will be back. We have some great things planned, Capizio and I. But that being said, it definitely just adds another level, as dance is this aesthetic type sport. It adds a whole nother level to what I do when I'm working with dancers, whether that's one-on-one or as a group. And I'll get into my actual services a little bit later on. But first, I want to discuss, can you put your personal Instagram handle, please? I will absolutely. Don't worry. I'm going to also kind of take over Capizio's story today. So I'll share a lot of posts. So you guys have all the information you need. Any articles that I talk about here, I will also link to later on. So not to worry. Just be patient. So let's see, a little bit more about me before I kind of dive into what I want to talk about. I'm based in New York, but all my work is actually done virtually. So even before everything with COVID-19, I work with dancers worldwide. I've got dancers who work with me who are in Germany right now, California, across the globe, but I am based in New York. Let's see. I have a 3.5-year-old son. He's really cute. And sometimes I will show him on like my account to the Point Nutrition. But yeah, so that's kind of about me. I love to post as much as I can to really help dancers with two different things. And you'll hear me talk about it a lot, but I sometimes refer to what a healthy dancer means to me. And what a healthy dancer means is, it's not just about what's on our plate. It's not just about what we weigh or what foods we're eating or what our food choices are throughout the day. There's so much that goes into being a quote unquote healthy dancer. And the reason why I'm saying this is because my program, and I'll talk more about it later, is called The Healthy Dancer. And I call it that for a reason, because we're really focusing on the physical, emotional, and mental aspects that food places on our body and on our dance performance. So let's see, having said that, what I'm going to talk to you today about is dealing with the stress of COVID-19, because obviously right now we are all home for the most part, social distancing. This is a very stressful time, right? I mean, I'm in New York. We've been home for, I think this is like week 7 already. Honestly, I've kind of lost track. But it's been tough. It's been tough. I do my best with virtual dance classes. I'll be honest, I really miss the studio though. I really do. It's just not the same for me. I like getting out. I like seeing my friends, But obviously we're all trying to make the best of the situation. So I can't complain. That being said, it's stressful, right? I know a lot of you girls and boys have summer intensives that may, or unfortunately now may not be coming up this summer. So it's really devastating to hear from a lot of you whose summer intensive have already been canceled. Have you guys had any cancellations yet? You can let me know in the comments. I'm just curious. That being said, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this stress of wanting to nourish our body well as a dancer, and wanting to stay somewhat in shape, right? For when we go back to being in the studio, it's really nerve-wracking. So what I find is that there are kind of like two different things that can happen right now, okay? Oh, our spring recital was canceled. I know so many things are getting canceled. It makes me really sad. Someone's is not canceled. Okay, well, we're all waiting to see what happens. But anyway, back to what I was saying before. I find that there's two things that can happen right now when we have this stress. See, what happens with a situation like COVID-19 that is an unprecedented time that we really haven't dealt with before, right? To this extreme. It's very much out of our control, right? This whole situation is out of our control. We can't go to the studio. We can't take a dance class with our companies, with our schools, right? And we are teetering on a time where we might not be able to head to our summer intensive this summer. Everything is out of our control, and that is scary. Especially, don't know if any of you guys are like this out there, but for a type A perfectionist like myself, that is very scary. I like having a plan, and I like being in control of that plan. So what happens, one of two things can happen when we don't have control. We develop coping mechanisms, okay? And with these coping mechanisms, again, one of two things can happen. The first is dancer A, okay, tries to control what she can in a situation, like I said, that's very much out of her control, or his control, I should say. So what happens is we try to control other things, those being our food choices and our body weight. So we very much try to control our food. Maybe we're counting calories or tracking our macros or obsessively tracking our food choices throughout the day. And we're tracking our body weight and we're going on the scale and we are freaking ourselves out, right? Because we're just trying to control something. So very often we try to control our body. how it looks, and how we're fueling it. That's answer A. The other thing that could either happen is we start to fall into behaviors like emotional eating, right? Stress eating, eating when we're not hungry, maybe overeating. So one of these two situations can happen. We're either kind of controlling ourselves to the realm of like under eating or restricting ourselves, restricting our food choices, restricting the amount of calories that we're eating in a day, or we kind of just can't gain any type of control and we are finding ourselves in the fridge stress eating or emotional eating. So I'm going to hopefully walk you through some strategies that can help with both of these situations, okay? It's not a matter of like you have one or the other. It can be a matter of like times of the day or even just like differences in your day. You know, like today you can feel really in control of everything. Like you're controlling your food and blah, blah, blah. And then tomorrow goes out the window and you feel like you're stress eating like crazy and you don't know how to reel it back in, right? So strategies. One of the biggest things I can suggest right now is developing some sort of structure for yourself. See, right now while you're home, and now I know a lot of you do have some structure because a lot of you are still remotely going to school. You're tuning into classes, both dance and or academic online. So you do have some bit of structure throughout your day. Well, you can do that with food too. If you feel like you are having a hard time tuning in to eating when you're hungry, and I'm going to talk about, I don't mean to, so that's actually a big topic, like eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full, and I'm going to break it down a little bit more for you, so I don't mean to just kind of brush over that quickly. But if you just find like you're kind of stress eating or emotional eating, then implementing some bit of structure throughout your day, even with your meals and snacks, can be super helpful. So usually what that looks like, and it's always a little bit difficult for me to give like very specific advice over lives and even over DMs. I try to always answer DMs, by the way, but sometimes it can be very, very difficult. Like I can't give you a calorie target and things like that. But what I can tell you is generally, as dancers, you generally are going to benefit from eating your 3 meals and like 1 or 2 snacks every day. Some of you may even need 3 snacks throughout the day. But you want to develop some bit of structure. I call it like an eating schedule. Now, I want you to realize that this process, this strategy, is very non-intuitive. And if you can remember when I was introducing myself, I told you that I was a certified specialist in sports nutrition, and I'm also a certified counselor of what's called intuitive eating. And I'm going to back up a little bit. Intuitive eating, what that actually means is that we're learning how to fuel our body based on how we feel, what makes us feel our best, what makes us feel satisfied. We're not solely fueling our body based on a specific calorie goal or like a specific weight goal. We're not relying on those set numbers to fuel ourselves throughout the day. Rather, we're relying on what makes us feel strong, what's working for our endurance levels, what's not causing us to obsess over food throughout the day and think about food on a 24/7 basis. You just develop this sense of what I call food freedom, okay? That's what intuitive eating is. Now, intuitive eating can be very, very difficult, believe it or not, for a dancer to implement all the time. And the reason for that is, forget being at home right now, right? When you're in your normal routine, when you're running from academics to your rehearsals, to your classes, to your performances, it can be very difficult to solely rely on your body's intuitive feelings of hunger and fullness because you're running all over the place. Dance, and I just wrote an article about this. Dance is, exercise in general actually is known to naturally blunt our hunger. So you might go throughout the day where you're kind of like snacking a little bit, not really fueling yourself too sufficiently. All of a sudden you get home at like 9 at night from your rehearsals and you are famished, okay? that's what we want to avoid. And how we avoid that is we implement this bit of a non-intuitive strategy, which is the eating plan, okay? Where you're thinking, well, let me plan out breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. So that's like morning snack and afternoon snack. Well, this little plan acts like a cast. And I always describe this to my clients. So knock on wood, this doesn't happen to any of us. Let's say we break our hand, or a hand is probably less scary than our ankle, right? What happens? We have a cast. We put a cast over it. That cast provides an external structure while we can fix the internal of what's going on. While our eating plan is going to do the same exact thing. It's going to provide this external structure while you're giving your body time to figure things out intuitively. So now that you're home and you have more time to really feel your hunger levels and to even sit down, eat mindfully, and thus assess your fullness levels at a meal, you have more time than when you would normally do to actually tune into your innate feelings or your intuitive feelings of hunger and fullness. So you're utilizing this structured plan that's non-intuitive. You're utilizing it to bridge you over to developing that intuitive ability to fuel yourself. Now, you don't ever have to stray from your food plan if it makes you feel comfortable. And if it makes you feel like you're enabling you to eat enough throughout the day. Like I said before, exercise does naturally blunt our hunger. So sometimes a lot of dancers will not even realize that they're not eating enough throughout the day, only to find themselves famished later on, or maybe like on the weekends and going, overboard on the weekends. Well, this little bit of structure is going to help you. And that's like my number one main strategy for you. Whether you fall into that dancer A, not personality, but dancer A situation or dancer B situation, and I'll just repeat what that was. The dancer A is like the one who's trying to control everything, trying to obsessively track her calories, or track their calories, their macros, their food intake. Stray from that a little bit. That can develop very unsustainable habits, and essentially it's also taking up way too much time throughout your day. You should be spending your day focusing on your technique, okay, enjoying dance and enjoying food. You don't have to track your food all day. That makes it very unenjoyable. Food should be fun. It's a part of our social life. It's a part of our culture. You don't want to fall into behaviors where you feel like you're have these rules around you 24/7 that's controlling you. You don't want that, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, it takes a long time to sometimes break from those rules, and that's exactly what I do when I'm working with my clients. I help them do that. So it doesn't happen overnight. I don't want you to feel like, you're doing something wrong right now. It's all difficult. It's all a process. But I do want you to start thinking about how can you stray from those very time-consuming habits, right? Restricting ourselves takes up way too much mental energy. And as dancers, we need that mental energy. And I know all of this firsthand because I did it. I did it 10 years ago, and thankfully I broke from it. And that's where I am. That's why I'm here today. I'm here today because I want to educate all my fellow dancers about not doing what I fell into doing. It didn't serve me any good, okay? So that's like dancer A, right? And then I said there was dancer B. Dancer B, and this could just be dancer A on another day. Dancer B being like hovering by the fridge, snacking, snacking is great, but like mindlessly snacking or procrastinating, and just feeling tired, frustrated with themselves, and feeling very much out of control. So implementing this bit of structure just really does help to provide some bit of control for you, okay? So I hope that helps. That's like my biggest strategy for right now. Implement some type of structure. You can think of having these meals and snacks every 2 to 4 hours. It really depends on your activity level and on your age. I know for myself right now, I am just not moving as much as I normally would, which is like hard for me. Listen, as dancers, like exercise is just naturally part of our lifestyles, and It's tough for me right now. I'm not moving as much. And one of the biggest questions that I get is like, well, if we're not moving as much, if I'm not taking as many classes and I'm not running here and running there, do I have to eat as much? Should I be lessening the amount that I eat? That's a really good question, but I don't want you to think of it like that. I don't want you to think like, you know what, now I have to eat less. If you're really not moving as much and you're allowing yourself to tune into your intuitive feelings of hunger and fullness, well, then guess what? Your body's not burning as much. You're likely not going to feel as hungry as you would when you were dancing more. You might even feel full quicker while you're eating, which brings me into the next strategy, okay? The next strategy, mindfulness. Now, I know a lot of you guys have heard this before, right? Because we talk about it all the time. Mindful techniques throughout your day. For the purpose of what I do, I'm talking about mindful eating techniques. And I promise you, I am constantly reminding my own self about this. I'm a millennial, so I am like always on my phone or like on my computer or basically just like multitasking in some way or another. And I have to actively tell myself that multitasking while I'm eating is not allowing me to eat mindfully. So what does that mean? It means not scrolling through your phone. And like, listen, obviously this live, in New York, it's 12:30. We're approaching lunchtime, so some of you might actually be eating right now. But for the most part, you want to try to really tune into your meals while you're eating them. This is going to help you ask yourself, midway through the meal, am I still hungry? Do I need more? Or can I actually put this aside and perhaps have the rest later? Now, you might still be hungry. You might still need to eat more, okay? But you actually might realize that sometimes it's very easy for us to fall into behavior of cleaning our plate. I think that's a behavior that we're very accustomed to. And for people who are restricting themselves and controlling the exact amount of calories they're eating throughout the day, I bet you that you are cleaning your plate pretty much all the time because you're, again, trying to hit these calorie goals. Well, you know what? Put a little bit more trust in yourself, okay? Take the trust out of those preconceived targets. Put the trust into your body and really assess your hunger and your fullness levels at those meals. You really might surprise yourself, okay? So we spoke about a couple strategies here. We spoke about implementing this eating plan, which can look like 3 meals, 1, 2, maybe even 3 snacks throughout the day. And then we spoke about mindful eating techniques, which essentially for our generations, which you might be millennial, you might be Gen Z out there, or others. But essentially what that means is really closing your screens, paying attention to your food, smelling your food, chewing it, drinking your fluid, your water throughout, really assessing how you feel 3 times during the meal, like mid-meal, then a little bit after, and then a little bit after that, and seeing where you're at. So that kind of covers some of the stress dealing with COVID-19, right? A lot of it's out of our control. You guys are going to try and control something. Just be careful. Try not to control too much in regards to calories and body weight. I'd rather you control your eating times throughout the day, using this as a structured plan to really help you bridge into more of a process of intuitive eating. Because now is the time actually to really experiment with intuitive eating, because now we do have the time. We're not running from here and there and everywhere, okay? So I also want to cover a bit about immunity, because obviously we're dealing with COVID-19 and we want to make sure we are really boosting our immunities well, right? So the main things you're going to focus on with boosting your immunity, we're thinking vitamin C, zinc, and probiotics, okay? So now, just a disclaimer, I am a food first kind of person. So when I'm suggesting vitamin C and zinc, I'm actually not necessarily talking about supplements right now, okay? Supplements are a webinar in of itself, and spoiler alert, I actually offer an entire free 3-day mini course all about nutrition supplements for dancers, on my website, dancenutrition.com. Don't worry, I'm going to link to this in stories later on, so you'll see that later. Now, you guys, if you have any specific questions, you can start typing them in and asking them, and I'll try and get to some while I'm on here. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about just what I do with my services at To The Point Nutrition and how I can work with you if you're interested in working with a dance nutritionist. So I work with dancers through my program called The Healthy Dancer. And this is a 6-week virtual program that's both online, like as a course, but also meeting with me one-on-one. And it pretty much covers everything from actual nutrition, like recommendations. I mean, breaking down how fats are going to benefit you, how carbs are benefiting you, and how protein is benefiting you. And I actually didn't dive too much into that during this webinar because I wanted to kind of keep it really focused on COVID. But like I said before, I will be back here and I will definitely do a webinar that focuses on breaking down those macronutrients for dancers. So just to get back to my program though, we focus on nutrition. We have meal plans in there that some of you asked about. I'm just looking at your questions right now and I'm going to get to them. We also talk about using food for our mental health. We bring in a lot of those mindful eating techniques, mindful eating behaviors. I teach you a lot about what intuitive eating is and when are appropriate times for dancers to kind of take advantage of that. So we really focus on just learning how to fuel your body physically and mentally and emotionally. So now let me look at some of these questions. Okay, so great protein sources for vegetarians. So that's an awesome question. I love legumes, lentils, beans, nuts and seeds for anyone who's allergic to nuts. Seed butters are great, nut butters. Someone asked about protein powder. I'm totally fine with protein powder. Again, I break a lot of this down in my supplement course that you guys should check out, and I'll link to it later. But protein powder can be a good option, especially for vegan and vegetarian dancers who might not be getting a lot of protein from protein from animal products. For vegetarians, though, if you do eat eggs and dairy, like I said, Greek yogurt and eggs, whole eggs with the yolk, by the way. I'm not an egg white person. I mean, you could add extra egg whites to it if you want, but don't forget about the yolk. Don't be scared of that. It's actually super packed with nutrients. But these are great sources of protein. Let's see. By the way, for any of you who are vegetarians and vegans, I have an ebook for you guys. It's just $9.99, so it is affordable. I realize that's relative, but it's about 45-page downloadable ebook. And right now, actually, you have 2 days left where 100% of your proceeds are going to be donated to the food bank for New York City. So I'm going to link to that as well, and you guys can swipe up. It dives deep into fueling your body via a plant-based lifestyle. So, by the way, I'm not vegan and I'm not vegetarian, but I totally support any dancer who is. I just don't want you to choose a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle for the wrong reasons. You know, if you're choosing it for reasons like animal rights and environmental benefits, that's wonderful. I love that. But don't just turn to these quote-unquote diets because you think they're healthier. We can have a completely quote-unquote healthy diet and incorporate animal proteins in there too. But if you do choose a plant-based lifestyle, and even if you don't, but you kind of want to just like learn how to add more plants to your plate, then this ebook is something that you'll benefit from. And that being said, I actually offer several ebooks. My ebooks are called The Healthy Dancer Survival Guide, and there's multiple editions. I have a summer intensive edition. I have a nutcracker edition. I have a plant-based edition, and I even have an edition that's geared just for your auditions and to help you prep for those. So again, I'll link to all of these later, or you can just head over to my page, To The Point Nutrition, and find the info there. Intermittent fasting. I actually wrote an entire article about this a few weeks ago on my blog, dancenutrition.com. So I want you to go read it, because I'll tell you my thoughts here, but I just want you to know I don't necessarily love saying like something's good or something's bad for you. I think that nutrition overall, we can't umbrella statement nutrition recommendations because everyone's different. What works for one person might not work for another. I'm definitely weary though. I'm weary on intermittent fasting because it's not practical for a dancer. I know a lot of dancers who will be in rehearsals and then have a performance that goes from like 7:30 to 10 p.m. at night. Intermittent fasting is not going to work for them because they have to fuel themselves before that performance and then even post performance for recovery. So intermittent fasting, really not practical for most dancers. By the way, if you're sleeping at night, you can think of that as like this little mini intermittent fast if you want to think of it fancy. So read my whole article though. I can link to that as well. I also dive into the keto diet, so you guys can view that as well. Let's see. What foods should I stay away from? So guys, I have a all foods fit approach to nutrition. I truly believe that whatever foods you love can totally fit into your meal plan without ever having to restrict yourself. We talk about how to do that in a way that's going to make you feel your best through a dance class. So for example, I have a major sweet tooth, okay? I cannot deny myself of like cake or a brownie sundae. That being said, I also want to make choices that make me feel good throughout the day. So if I have a dance class at like 4 p.m., I'm not necessarily going to choose the brownie sundae at 3:30 p.m. because that's really not going to make me feel my best for my dance class. But that being said, I'm not going to restrict myself from that at another time when I feel like it's something that I want and that I can eat and when I'm craving it. Okay? Someone asked me about my ambassador program. So yes, for those of you who follow me, I do have a dancer ambassador program. It's a really fun program that is application based, so you have to apply to it, and I go through all the applications myself. And I send my ambassadors weekly emails, fun promotions, and we communicate all the time. Like my ambassadors are DMing me and emailing me all the time. So it's really fun, but here's the thing. The application only opens a couple times a year. Next time it opens is in July. So I suggest you guys follow me at To The Point Nutrition. Keep your eye out for when I open that application. It's usually open for like a week long. And that's it. You just have to apply to it. It's really fun, but that application closes quickly. So you got to get the next time it's going to be in July. Okay? What snacks should dancers eat? So, I mean, I could talk for hours about snacks. I love snacks. But in general with snacks, we want to think about balance. Balance is key, okay? And when I talk about balance, I mean of those macronutrients, the 3 macronutrients being carbs, protein, and fat, okay? So, for example, choosing chips or pretzels and pairing it with hummus. Hummus is a great source of protein. It's even got some healthy fats in there from olive oil. Pairing that with chips. Now, I personally love legume-based chips. So if you've ever tried like Beanfields or Benitos, those are some of the brands that I've come across. But they make their chips out of lentils or beans, and there's just a bit more protein and fiber in there than like a standard corn-based chip. Nothing wrong with corn chips at all. Nothing wrong with them. I just feel that you might feel a little bit more energized if you're having a chip that's a bit higher in fiber, because fiber is going to help to sustain your energy levels for a bit longer. I also love pairing fruit with nut or seed butter. That's another one of my personal favorites. And I also love building my own trail mix. So pairing like some nuts, some little pretzels, the mini ones, and even some M&Ms I throw in there because I've got a sweet tooth. So, but you can throw dried fruit in there as well. Natural juices count as a produce source. Yeah, you're getting all those vitamins in there like you would with non-juiced produce. I am very not a fan of juice cleanses though, so you want to be careful with that. Those are very unsustainable methods of weight loss, and weight loss is a whole webinar in of itself, guys, so I can't focus too much on it right now. But I'm not a fan of cleanses because they're just going to leave you really hungry, not fuel your performance at all, leave you feeling really tired, and plus you're not even getting any fiber when all your produce is juiced, and fiber gets a big plus in my book. Vegan here, oh, that's cool. So you might like that plant-based ebook I was telling you about. Okay, let's see. Healthy granola bars. Healthy granola bars are a great snack for a dancer. My favorite bars, bars for me have to be convenient. That's the purpose of what a bar is to me. It's just a convenient snack for when I'm running from point A to point B. My favorite are Lara bars. But you could totally make your own. There's a zillion recipes out there. If you DM me, I can probably send you some of my favorites because I can't link to it right now in the live. So yeah, guacamole and chips. Yeah, it's a great snack. Very healthy. Guacamole is packed with unsaturated fats. That's one of my favorite snacks, which some of you asked about. Let's see. Reducing inflammation and sore muscles. That's a really good question. So I like to think about, because sometimes we forget about them, unsaturated fats or quote unquote healthy fats, your omega-3s. Again, I'm not referring to supplements right now. I'm referring to foods. So for those of you who aren't vegan, fish is a great source of these omega-3s. Vegans or non-vegans, olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds. Get these healthy fats in. They do wonders for reducing inflammation. And as dancers, we all have a bit higher level of inflammation in our bodies just because exercise is considered a natural stressor on the body. So we definitely want to do our part in lessening that inflammation. Do you provide meal plans? In my program, The Healthy Dancer, absolutely, I give meal plans. My meal plans are never like, you have to follow this to a T. They're all suggestion based. So I'm just giving you a lot of inspiration, recipe inspiration, snack inspiration, and so on. How to stay healthy while on vacation. So I do talk about this again in that program. I'm kind of running out of time now, so I'm not going to be able to dive too much into it. But if you really do learn how to fuel your body more of that intuitive basis where you're, eating when you're hungry, satisfying your cravings, and stopping when you're full, then you really can develop this mindset and this behavior where you're not going on vacation and feeling like you just have to get it all in because you're never going to have it again, right? That's the overarching mindset that we tend to focus on when we're coming from any type of restrictive background. We think that we're never going to eat this food again, so we just have to overdo it. And it's this cycle, this restricting versus binging recycle that we want to stay away from. What is your website? So I actually have two websites, but the resource website where I write weekly articles, and I have a bunch of free downloads on there for you guys. I have a free starter workbook. So if you like the idea of my 6-week program, but you're not sure about the investment just yet, you can just download this free, fun little starter workbook. I also have a body acceptance workbook, and I have that free course I told you about. All of that can be found at dancenutrition.com. It's super easy. Dance, DANCE, nutrition, NUTRITION.com. Now, my other website, which is more about me, where you'll learn about me, you'll learn about the services I offer for dancers, that's pointnutrition.com. Again, super easy, point with an E, obviously, nutrition.com. I'll link to all of these later on. Sunflower seed butters. So yes, what seed butters do you like? Yes, I love sunflower seed butter. Believe it or not, I've also tried pumpkin seed butter, which is really good. Honestly, it's a little pricey though, so I don't get it that often, but that's why sunflower seed butter is kind of the most economical one out there right now. Smoothies are a great option. You can sneak so much good nutrition in there. You can even sneak leafy greens in there, and it kind of just adds the fiber, add to the vitamins, especially that vitamin C. Let's see if I have a couple more questions. What should your biggest meal be? You know what? That could be very specific to each dancer. It's hard a little bit to answer that on here. So generally, like I know for me personally, my breakfast and lunch more like lately have been bigger. And I think just by the time I get to dinner, I'm just less hungry. I think I fueled myself pretty well throughout the day. So I know I've heard of like the idea of top loading your day where breakfast, lunch, your snacks, you want to make it where by the time you get to dinner, you're not in that famished mode where you can just eat everything in sight. You want to keep it consistent throughout the day. Okay, so guys, I'm pretty sure that covered most things that I wanted to talk about today, and I even got to some of your questions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, I'll share a lot of swipe ups, a lot of good information on Capizio's stories. You can follow me at To The Point Nutrition. I'm definitely going to be back here giving some great webinars soon. So always I'll keep you posted on that. But it was really honestly a pleasure talking to all of you. And I look forward to doing it again. Just try and stay happy during this time. Try and stay positive. You know, hope there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to get through it. We're all in this together. I mean, it comes down to that, right? We're all social distancing together. It's really quite a crazy time to be living in it right now, and we're going to get through it together. Just got to stay positive. I think accounts like Capizio are just doing an incredible job of offering these free, informative, and helpful sessions for dancers. So take advantage of that, okay? Definitely take advantage of that. I wish I had this a decade ago when I was very questioning about dance nutrition. Anyway, I can't wait to talk to all of you guys and girls and everyone soon. Bye.